Hello YouTube and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today I've come around the garage to make a start on giving MOREDOOR, my 2-litre Zetec powered Mk2 Escort, some much needed and well overdue TLC. I mentioned in my last video that I'm going to be taking a bit of a step back from my ST170 Mark 1 Escort project to focus on the Mark II. I have bought a few more bits for the Mark 1 since then, but on a more negative note I've actually found a problem that's going to mean I'm going to have to take the engine and the gearbox back out of the car, so she definitely won't be ready for Ford Fest at the end of this month. It's not all bad though. I can take the Mark II there instead and hopefully run her down the quarter mile to try and beat my personal best. If you are new to the channel, do check out my other videos for more information on both of my cars, and if you would consider subscribing to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to activate that notification bell to be kept right up to date with any future uploads. The Santa Pod Drift Days are going to be starting back up soon, and I'm desperate to take the Mark II back to do some skids. But there's a few issues on the car I need to address first.
The main thing that's stopping me going back to do some drifting and some drag racing is an oil leak that I've been trying to suss out. And the oil seems to be collecting right where the cylinder head meets the block down there. I don't know if you can see it. Now it could just be a leak from the rocker cover gasket, cam cover, valve cover, whatever you want to call it. Now that is definitely leaking, but the amount of oil that I'm seeing down the back there seems like it's a bit more than what's just coming out of here. I have already changed this once, but I did use a really cheap pattern gasket, so it could be that. If not, it could be that I've done the bolts up too tight. Now I did use a torque wrench when I done the job, but I'm thinking I may have done it up to 7 foot-pounds rather than 7 Newton meters. So I bought another gasket. This time I went for a Victor Rines gasket, which I've heard are pretty good, but still a lot cheaper than a genuine Ford one. A genuine Ford one is 38 quid, which I think is ridiculous for a rocker cover gasket. So I'm going to try this one, and obviously I'll take more care to torque it up to the right settings this time. I bought the gasket from Burton Power, which is a company in Ilford, and they do loads of parts for these cars. Really good company, always willing to give you advice over the phone as well, and everything gets sent out relatively quickly. So yeah, really like this company. I'll leave a link in the description of this video to their website. Get on there and get on their mailing list and get one of these catalogues. Not only does it show you all the parts that they sell, but there's also some really good technical information in the beginning of the catalogue, as well as tuning guides for all the popular Ford engines. And there's a lot more tech tips throughout the catalogue as well. So yeah, well worth having this catalogue. And if you do ever find yourself in Ilford, go in and have a look at their shop as well. It's a really cool shop. They've got engines on display with like part of the block cut away, so you can see all the internal parts of the engine, which I think is really cool. So fitting the rocker cover gasket is really simple. Just got to move the HT leads out of the way. Obviously place them in such a way so you can remember which one goes where. I just normally hang them over things. It keeps them in order. I've just got to remove this breather pipe and then undo all these bolts. Now I always start in the middle and go sort of in a spiral all the way around.
Prise this out carefully with a screwdriver. And I'll just give it a clean with like brake cleaner and a rag, and then it's ready to put the new gasket on. The reason I've used brake cleaner is because it evaporates away really well, doesn't leave a residue, and you want this groove where the gasket goes to be as dry as possible before you put the new gasket in. If there's any reason why I shouldn't be using brake cleaner, I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments. Right, so the groove's all dry now, all cleaned out, so I'm just going to slot the new gasket into place. And just make sure it's fully pushed down into the groove. And you've got these little tabs that locate into holes, so just make sure they're in properly.
So now the gasket and the rocker cover is ready. Just need to clean up this mounting face here get rid of all the oil, and then it's ready to put the rocker cover back on the engine. Alright, so the surface is all cleaned up now. Time to chuck this cover back on. Just screw the bolts in finger tight first, and then I'll go and grab the torque wrench. So these only need to be done up to 7 Newton meters. We're going to do the same pattern as before, start in the middle, spiral round. I'm just going to give them another little squeeze by hand. Then I'm going to go to 2 Newton meters, then to 5, and then to 7. Always do them up in stages, don't just do one up all the way. Right, so now they're all snug. I'm going to go to 2 Newton meters. Which they were all virtually at anyway. Now I'm going to go to 5 Newton meters. And now 7. And now I'll just go around once more, just to check. Put the breather pipe back on. Now I'm not going to put the HT leads back in because I've got an issue down here. This bolt that not only holds the top alternator bracket but also holds the inlet manifold to the head is snapped off in there. I've already poked something in there and I can see that it's not snapped flush with the head, which is good. So if I take the inlet manifold off, I should be able to get hold of the rest of the bolt with a pair of grips or something and take it out. I haven't got a replacement inlet gasket, so I'm hoping I don't break the gasket while I'm doing this, but we'll just see how it goes. Disconnect this alternator bracket first. Having a bit of a nightmare with GoPro batteries today. They keep running out. Didn't charge them last night, and the car doesn't have a cigarette lighter, so I've had to improvise. Set this little thing up. The car probably won't start later now. No, I'm not going to disconnect the fuel hose or the throttle cable, because I've literally just got to move the inlet out of the way to get that stud out, and then it can go straight back on. So. There's a snap bolt. Gasket doesn't look in too bad nick. It's just split by one of the bolt holes, but it should still seal around the ports, so let's get it back on. So this is the length of M8 bolt that I need to replace the snap one. I haven't got any left that length, so I'm just going to cut down one that's a bit longer. And what I do is I put a nut on there first, because when you hacksaw this off, it's going to ruin the thread a little bit, and then you can just simply unwind the nut again to repair the thread. And I'll just use a file to taper the end. Slightly. Yeah, so with the end slightly rounded off, it should start to thread in a bit easier. Yeah, and then wind the nut off and just go backwards and forwards a couple of times over that last bit of thread that's probably a bit deformed from the hacksaw, until it feels like it's going past that bit nice and smooth. And then you shouldn't have any problem screwing that in then. Alright, so now I've just got to put all the washers and the nuts back on all around the inlet manifold and do them up, and that's that job done. The coil pack bracket on this car is actually bolted to the inlet manifold, so before I put that back on and fully tighten up the inlet manifold, I'm going to give the block a bit of a clean. Obviously the oil leak has made a bit of a mess down there, so if I clean it now I'll be able to monitor whether there's any other leaks to worry about. Back in so they're out of the way while I'm trying to do the nuts up. So when I went to do this bolt up, the one that snapped before, it felt like it was bottoming out before it was getting tight. So I threaded a tap in and out of it a couple of times. It feels a lot better now. Yeah, with the alternator bracket off, it seems to pretty much go all the way flush, so that should be no problem when I put the bracket back on and by the time I've got washers on it and that. The last thing I want to happen is for the bolt to snap and me have to start again. It's already taken longer than I thought it would. Right, finally got all the nuts and bolts and washers on. Just going to torque them all up to 20 Newton meters and this job's sorted. Still having grief with this thread, man. Just feels like the bolt's gonna snap every time I try and do it up. I'm gonna take this bracket back off and play around with the tap again. And the bolt that snapped in there, that's definitely the end of it, so there's no more of that left in there. It's really strange. I managed to get the tap in and out, then I try it with a bolt and it just feels like it's going to snap and it doesn't go in very far. I've now basically decided to put a stud in there. Found one of the original studs off of my ST170 engine, which ironically went in there fine as well, so I'm just going to leave that in there, put a nut on it. Yeah, next time I take this inlet manifold off, I'll have to investigate what's going on in that bolt hole in the head. Alright, inlet manifold's all torqued up now. What a mission this job has been. Just get the alternator hooked up properly now. Those of you who follow me on Instagram or follow my Facebook page will know that my alternator bracket broke the other day and I got my good pal Naif to weld it up for me. Done it at very short notice, so yeah, thanks again Naif. Let's see how long it will last this time. That's it all back together. That's all I'm doing today. I did plan to do other stuff, but that's just been so much grief. I nearly gave up on making this video a couple of times, but I think it's important to document all the bad times as well as the good times.
Right, so that's all I'm doing today. I did plan to do a couple of other little jobs, but I can't be bothered now. I did want to fit some new track control arms today with poly bushes, but they didn't arrive in the post in time, so I'll have to do that another time. Hopefully replacing the rocker cover gasket will cure all my oil leak problems, but I'm not holding my breath. I reckon there's a leak coming from somewhere else, and where the oil's building up, it could actually be the head gasket itself, which will be quite a big job for an amateur like me. I'm going to be quite busy for the next couple of weeks, so I don't know when I'll be able to upload another video, but I will try and do a little video just to show you the new parts that I bought for the Mark 1 and also explain the disaster that I've had with the Mark 1. So stay tuned for that. At the end of the month I began at Santa Pod for Ford Fest, which is the last Ford show there of the year, and then shortly after that I'm hoping to take the Mark 2 down there to do some drifting. And obviously I'll be taking the camera with me, so I'll keep you posted on how all that goes. If you thought this video was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was shit, still give it a thumbs up out of sympathy for the amount of grief I've had with my cars over the last week. Click subscribe and activate the notification bell to be kept up to date with any other videos that I post in the future. Make sure you check out my Facebook page and my Instagram for more regular updates on what I'm up to with my cars, and I'll leave all the links you need for that in the description of this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.